What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Bucketology. Another bracket video for y'all. I did the backcourt for the All-Stars with a couple snubs. Same shit here today. We got all the All-Stars in the front court. That includes DeMar DeRozan. I don't care what the NBA says he plays. He's a forward, not a guard at this point in his career. So he's in the front court bracket. Here are all your guys. A couple snubs, obvious guys that would be like the next couple picks. Best couple forwards or whatever in the league after the guys that got selected. And before we start this thing off, just a reminder, this is not who's the better all-time player. This is not who's going to be better in 5 years. At the end of the day, this is who's better right now. Who do you want on your team right now? Your team is going on a playoff run. Your team wants to win some big basketball games. Who do you want? And looking at this first one, listen, Jaren Jackson was like the black sheep. Which of these does not belong? Meme guy for the All-Stars when you have Kawhi, Anthony Davis in this conference. You can't use games missed as an argument against them, in this case for Jaren Jackson being on the All-Star team, because he also missed a bunch of games this year. And he's clearly miles inferior as a basketball player to Kawhi Leonard or Anthony Davis. So first thing we have to note there, not to discount how amazing of a defensive player he is. He's leading the league in stocks and blocks, and a huge reason why Memphis' defense is as good as it is. That being said, this is Julius Randle all the way. Guy honestly needs a little bit more credit for how he's bounced back after a terrible season last year. He was the man in 2021, and then last year, I don't know what happened, but as a bruiser, combo, forward, big that can dribble the basketball up the court, post up, down low, and also grab like 15 rebounds if you need him to, guy can pretty much do anything on a basketball court. So I'm taking him over Jaren. Can also play a full game without getting 6 fouls in 20 minutes. Okay, no contest here, obviously, but let's just give Bam the credit that he deserves, because he could have beaten some of the other guys on this list for sure. For me, because I don't think there is a more versatile defensive player in the NBA, a more switchable big man in the NBA, which is extremely important with how the game is played today. Everybody wants to switch. Everybody wants to run pick and roll every play. Y'all saw what happened when Trae Young and company went into Miami, tried to get those pick and rolls off. This dude is not playing a drop coverage. He's just switching onto any player, and he's shutting that shit down, and it was incredible to watch, and he is such a huge reason why the Heat are like one of the best defenses in the league year in, year out. So respect to him, at least. Okay, we got the Raptors over here now. DeMar DeRozan, my Chicago Bulls. I kind of just want to pick him just for that. It's hard for me to even do that. And these are two teams that are incredibly underwhelming. Two players that I don't think should have even made the All-Star game, to be honest. But they did. And who's better? Well, DeMar is much better offensive player. Spicy P is a much better defensive player. Honestly, Pascal's probably a better all-around guy. DeMar, by far the better scorer. Definitely can just get a bucket at any time. Owns the mid-range, obviously. He's definitely one-dimensional as a star player, but he gives you more in that mid-range than Spicy P does at any facet of his game. He's more of a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none type guy. Awesome defensive player, though. I'm just going to bias my way to DeMar DeRozan. I can't believe he wins around here, but we're going to do it. Shout out to Domantas Sabonis, okay? What a year. Playing like a super Joker light role for the Sacramento Kings and directing offense. Point center type guy who has really shored up a lot of his defensive deficiencies, even if he's not the greatest defender in the world. That was definitely a knock on his game previously. And without really a jumper, able to use physicality and just maneuverability to get where he needs to go on the floor. Great screen setter, dribble handoff guy, obviously one of the best passing bigs in the game. So shout out to him. And he's done a great job in terms of turning this Kings team all the way around into a 3 seed. But come on, shout out Jimmy. You know, there's so many respectable losers so far, I gotta say. And Jimmy, when you get to the most important part of the game, when you get to the most important games, one thing you know about Jimmy, he's always going to bring it. It doesn't matter who's playing on the other team. We've seen him do it against the best of the best competition. Unfortunately, though, this is not a winnable round for him. So shout out Jimmy. It's going to be another shout out to AD. If AD was a healthy player year in, year out, obviously we're not living in that reality by a long shot. We just got to give it up to him. It's not for a lack of skill to play the game of basketball as a big man, but Anthony Davis, he can't establish rhythms because he gets hurt every 20 games, and therefore he's just not the same player. And Joel Embiid, I mean, you can't really even use the injury excuse, because Joel Embiid has had his fair share of that during his career, and yet we still acknowledge him as the greater player of these two, and he is. Because his defensive output is tremendous, as well as Anthony Davis, but he's also just such a better shooter and shot creator. That mid-range jumper for him is something that AD used to hit with regularity. He just doesn't have the same touch anymore for whatever reason. It kind of just has left him the last couple years. Whereas Embiid, absolutely unstoppable scorer and dominant player. The game is like too easy for him. So Shout out to Lauri Markkanen. What a season he's had. Who could have seen it coming? Gotta win most improved player for sure. That's fucked up if they give it to SGA. Not to say he hasn't improved, but we already knew who SGA was. Lauri Markkanen, who would have thought he would be a legit #1? You can't beat Jason Tatum in this round, but shout out to him. Here we go. What a round 1 matchup. This is fucking crazy. But Giannis is stamped. He's got the chip. Joker, we've only seen him with a healthy team in his prime in the bubble, and they got to the conference finals. They lost that series to the Lakers, the eventual winners of the bubble, of course, and he just hasn't had a healthy Jamal Murray in the playoffs with him since then. So we do have to give him a chance this year. Like, this is the big year. I think this is where you got to put the pressure on Joker because his team is good. I mean, he's got the pieces around him where you can't say that he's carrying his team at this point. I know his stats are insane. He is the guy for this team, and they'd be lost without him. But he's got the supporting cast. He's got the number 2, 3, 4. He should, as far as offense is concerned. But he's also not the defender that his team needs at center either. And so his team could lose in the playoffs if he's just getting targeted on every screen and roll, and he can't guard that. So they play the Suns or something, you get put in every CP3 pick and roll. How are you going to counter that? You just got to outscore the other team. Whereas Giannis, two-way player. And that's what really gives him the edge here. Not just the championship, not just the fact that he's got 2 MVPs also, but we just know that things get tough and you play the toughest teams in the fiercest battles. This dude's running through a wall. And the mentality is pretty much unmatched. What he will do in the circumstance, rise into the occasion. Greek Freak. One of these guys was an all-star starter this year, and it wasn't Joel. Based on that logic, we got to go Tatum, right? I'm not doing it. Listen, I know Tatum's been to the finals, and Joel has never been out of the second round. Fair point. That being said, Joel, I hate to use this injury card, but it's true. He's never been healthy in the playoffs. It's just never happened. Now, that's not an excuse. He's had some chokes. He's had some flameouts, yes. And we don't know if he was fully healthy. Would that have still happened? We don't know. But we can't just excuse all of that because he doesn't have that reputation of being a playoff player at all. That being said, better two-way player. Tatum is amazing. But I do think he has the benefit of a better built team, better coach team, and I also think that against the best competition, against toughest defenders, biggest moments of a game where the physicality turns up, you got to get a bucket. Fourth quarter, everybody's sweating and you're getting hand checked to death. I don't really trust Tatum that much, as opposed to certain other star players that are around his caliber. I'm picking Embiid. Shout out to Julius Randle, great season, great bounce back. We're not going to spend too much time on this though. Same thing. I don't even know if I need to shout out DeMar because he's had, well, I'm not going to say he's had a disappointing year. He's been dealing with a little bit of injuries. The Bulls as a whole, insanely disappointing, suck-ass team to root for this year, for sure. LeBron broke the scoring record and he's averaging like 30 points a game. So, yeah, we don't really need to even, yeah. Wow, what a shitty kind of round two because, okay, never mind. This is like the championship, basically. Arguably the 2 best players in the league. I don't know if I would say it. I've always had a problem with KD as far as the Golden State thing, as far as you never won a championship on your own. And by on your own, I don't mean by, like, no one can win a championship by themselves. That's not what I'm saying. But literally what you had to do to win a championship. Giannis is absolutely stamped. He won a championship as the guy. Didn't have to bandwagon a 73-win team to do it. So I'm going to go Giannis. That being said, I think KD has gotten better. This era of KD is a better basketball player than he was in his Thunder days, I would say. Honestly, both these guys are nightmares to guard, no doubt about it. But Giannis is a bruising, physical type player that literally runs through a wall. Say what you want about the play style. That's what wins him a championship and will win him more championships most likely. He's got the belt. As soon as I say that, this is obvious. Like, Joel Embiid has the potential to be the best player in the league. He's not stamped yet. We haven't seen him do it on the biggest stage. Regardless of what you say about the injuries, yes, he's had bad luck, especially last year. I don't know how he just, I guess that's Doc Rivers' fault. Shouldn't have had him in the game. He just takes the elbow, gets a concussion, and it fucks everything up, literally. I don't think they were going to win a championship anyway, but still, definitely, like, just his luck, right? But he's not stamped, okay? He hasn't delivered in the playoffs. It's Giannis, no doubt about it. Listen, LeBron is 38 years old, and his team's on the verge of missing the playoffs. I know his numbers have been insane. I know that he's still incredibly productive despite being 38 years old, but we're talking about playoff atmospheres. We're talking about the biggest games, best opponents. You got to win a 7-game series. I don't know if I can trust a 38-year-old LeBron right now to bring it home at this point. Kawhi Leonard is a big question mark as well, but the last time we saw Kawhi Leonard, he was as good as anybody on the court, outdueling Luka Doncic, and then getting hurt, of course, in that Jazz series that they eventually win. Who knows what happens if he never tears his ACL? Does he have another ring as a Clipper? All I know is that when he was in Toronto in 2019, that was one of the greatest playoff runs I've ever seen from any player. All I know is when this guy is playing in a big game against a big opponent, he can be the best player on the court with any player. It's not prime LeBron. It's not prime Kawhi, probably, but he's younger. He's more in his prime. Like, he's more recently removed from a state where he was dominating guys and the best player on any court that he was playing on in 2021. Whereas we're in 2023. I can't pick Kawhi at this point just because of the uncertainty. This guy's coming back from an ACL. I know he's been playing extremely well recently. Not to say that he can't be the better player out of these two. I guess if both these guys are healthy at this point, I gotta take Giannis. He is the champ. He's got the belt until we see Kawhi do what he did a couple years ago again. Yes, we know that he has done it before multiple times, but this guy's gotta stay healthy and play the rest of the year and then be ready to play even more high intensity basketball, not that far removed from a torn ACL. So I don't know. It's just the uncertainty level and Giannis winning the more recent championship and just getting better every year. So I'm going with Giannis, and this has been the bracket for the NBA All-Star Frontcourt. So let me know in the comments, what did I do wrong? Where did I fuck up? Where is my hypocrisy? Am I a hypocrite? Probably, right? So let me know. It's been Bucketology, and that's going to do it. Leave a like. Peace.